All right, thanks for joining. John here, software engineer with 10 years of experience, and today we are reviewing a blog article from interviewing.io. Interviewing.io is a platform that runs coding interviews with real humans and following the big tech format. So it's really interesting that they did an experiment seeing how hard it was to cheat with ChatGPT, and they found it was pretty easy. So we're going to go through their results and we're going to critique some of the results, or at least identify caveats in the results, because there are some. And I'm going to show you some of my great art. Here's a preview. And then let me also just give a general recommendation of the interviewing.io blog. This is not the first cool article they've done. They churn these out all the time, I feel, on a monthly basis. So here's just another example of a recent article they published, the financial equivalent of work from home as a benefit. You can use this at negotiation time. If you are currently in a remote work situation, maybe you get a competing offer, and maybe the competing offer is not remote work, and then you can negotiate it to a higher pay to cash out the equivalent of that benefit. And so, you can read through the analysis here, but basically the top line is that a full work from home benefit has a financial value of, on average, about 45 grand. So looking at ChatGPT, let's go to the top line. That one might have been, that might have counted as it. Yeah, I think that was basically the money chart. So this is basically the top line result. So they break it out by the kind of question asked. When the interviewer gives a interviewee a verbatim leak code question, the interviewee passes 73% of the time using ChatGPT. Almost as well when it's a modified leak code question. So they take a core leak code question and modify it. We're getting 67% pass rate. And the custom questions have a much lower pass rate. These people who are using ChatGPT were basically asked to solve it using ChatGPT, so that even if they knew how to kind of like answer the question, they almost weren't supposed to. They were supposed to be using ChatGPT. So that's one of the constraints you can see here. In a real world application, let's say that I'm trying to cheat in a coding interview. I might try GPT, and if it's obviously failing me, I might flip over to my actual skills, right? So this might underestimate true performance with custom questions. What are some of the other constraints that we can see here? I think that's the main one. Even in cases where it's modified or verbatim, the true pass rate could be slightly higher than that if the candidate is able to execute an OR operation between using ChatGPT or using their own skill. And here's the control. So yeah, ChatGPT helps people. Is that surprising? Especially when it's leak code based. Here is a side effect. So one of the recommendations is like you should be using custom questions now. Yeah. Change your questions to start asking custom questions immediately. I want to push back on this. For two reasons. One, custom questions are also often a source of introducing bias. So as an example, when I interviewed at Google a while ago, I was asked to implement Mahjong. Mahjong is a game. I don't know if you've heard of Mahjong, but you can see that like I had no clue how to play this game, but you can see that people of certain backgrounds would be advantaged and disadvantaged. So there's a cultural bias in this question. So we need to be really careful about using custom questions. Using standard questions are actually a good way to eliminate bias. Here's a second reason. Using ChatGPT can be a signal rather than a cheat. Like developers, as developers, we're already using Copilot on the regular. We're already using these generative AI tools. So one option, let's turn over to my awesome drawing here. Here's what the data really says. If we eliminate interviewing.io's actual conclusions, here's what the data says, is that the automated code challenge is exploitable. Like from an InfoSec perspective, you can hack it. Thanks for the rose. Given that it's exploitable, one way you can push back is like make it harder, which is what they're saying, like use custom questions. Another solution is accept the exploit, basically. Just like say that this is like a feature, not a bug. And start gauging signal on the candidate's ability to use GPT. You can even tell them you can use GPT, and you can even assess them directly on their use of GPT. You might give them, just as we give them coding questions, you might give them prompt engineering questions. How would you prompt ChatGPT to solve the following problem? Don't even tell me what the solution to the problem is. Just tell me your prompting strategy. And I think that will, give you a useful signal, because ICs use these tools. It also eliminates cheating and bias, which is going to happen. Like the cheating is going to happen, y'all. We now have the data that this thing is exploitable, and it's only going to get easier to exploit. Well, let's go to this piece, right? It's pro-diversity, which is good for business and society. So not only are custom questions a source of bias and therefore an anti-diversity measure, but in addition, we know that using ChatGPT provides better access and educational opportunities to those from non-traditional backgrounds, and it disproportionately benefits productivity for juniors. Okay. So there's a twofold manner in which embracing prompted interview is pro-diversity. And then, if someone just thinks like diversity is this sort of like raw thing and they don't get it, like there's lots of research. You can check out the Deloitte study with Girls Who Code. Diversity actually improves your company performance. Like if you're unaware of this. And it also improves retention. And so there's a top line profit benefit to your company when you do this. So there's innovation gains, and then there's like employee retention, culture gains, job satisfaction gains. I don't know. It's in here somewhere. You can look at it's Deloitte and Girls Who Code did a really good study on this, where they found that was a gender study, and they found that like when you have more than 35% gender balance, so it doesn't need to be 50-50, but if you can beat the 35% mark, then teams will have higher productivity, job satisfaction, retention, and so on. And that's a gender-wise study, and then you can look for like studies on racial mixing and so on. I want to get into learning to code for various help my career in cybersecurity. Let's do questions at the end today. So hold on to that question. Thanks for being here. We'll get through the study and then we'll come to questions. Okay. So we read the result here, and I think this top line data is really good. I don't have much to critique here. They did a control. They have verbatim, modified, and custom. In terms of this top line data, my critique is in their interpretation, right? So they say the solution is start asking custom questions. I think it's a little more complicated than that. But the top line data is very good. Let's look at some of the secondary data where I do have some more critiques. Here's one where I really do have a critique. So look at this question. The question administered: how worried were interviewees that their interviewer would catch them cheating? I'm thinking this is the wording of the question. I guess maybe I'm not 100% sure that is the wording of the question. Thanks for the follow, but I'm thinking that's the wording of the question. Now, suppose that is the wording of the question. This caption doesn't follow. That's a misinterpretation of this data. How worried were you? So let's say you ask me, how worried am I that the other guy knows, or how worried am I that the other guy will catch me using ChatGPT? And I say, I'm not that worried. And they're saying, I'm mostly sure that it went undetected. That's not what I'm saying. What I might be saying is, I don't even care about this interview, dude. Like, I'm interviewing at this company. I don't even care about this job. Like, or even if the other guy detected it, I'm not concerned that he will throw out my candidacy. Like, I don't think it would be disqualifying. So to say that I'm not, or maybe it's, I'm just like a relaxed person, you know, I just don't worry. Like, maybe that's how I took the question, you see? So if someone asks me, how worried am I that the interviewer knows that I used ChatGPT? My response to that, whether it's slightly worried, very worried, or not worried, it's not the same question as, am I sure that it went undetected? Am I sure that it went undetected? Or am I mostly sure? That word mostly there. So if you say, am I certain that it went undetected? I would probably say, no, I'm not certain. Right? Even if I don't care or whatever. But this mostly keyword, that really fuzzies things up, because what degree of certainty, what on the credence scale of 0 to 100% certainty, where's mostly? Is that like more than 50%? Okay, so that's my critique with this particular question. Reasons interviewer, well, this I think is like interesting, but I don't know that it really has a bearing on using GPT. Their main takeaway is that cheating wasn't mentioned on here. I'm not super sure what to do with that. But no one was caught cheating is really impressive. This is the next thing that seems really impressive, but I also want to push back on. Interviewer confidence in the correctness was high, 72% saying they were confident in the hiring decision. Okay. And none of the interviewers on this interviewing.io platform caught those who were using ChatGPT. Ahmad, what's going on? Thanks for the TikTok symbol gift. Okay, here's why we can push back on this. The interviewing.io platform is without video. It's without video. So the interviewer and the interviewee communicate via audio only. And basically they're looking at the code like a coder pad. They're looking at like a code screen. It's significantly easier to cheat if I don't need to maintain eye contact, right? If I can have ChatGPT on one screen and like here's where it's perhaps easiest to catch you cheating. If I'm interviewing you and you're looking at the other screen and I can hear typing, but I don't see any characters changing on the coder pad. Clearly you're typing in some other window. Like, you see how that's like much easier to detect? And so the diffing of these two situations, your typical real world interview at a Google or a Facebook or another big tech company, the real situation, diffing that against the interviewing.io protocol, they are quite similar. But if you've done them both and you're aware of the differences, you can actually create like tips about how to do it. So I'll give you a few of those. Not in the spirit of encouraging cheating, but in the spirit of revealing vulnerabilities to employers. Like, consider this an InfoSec audit. You have vulnerability. Your code challenges are vulnerable. Here I said automated. The reason I said automated is because it may be hard to fully human. It's very easy to cheat on the automated challenges. There's one defense that I've seen from people who have the automated challenges. They think that once you start the assessment, you can't click out of the window. Like, the system detects if you click out of the window. That means nothing, dude. Let me show you why. I'm not going to do it, but I was going to hold up my other computer, but it's a work computer. The thing is that people can have more than one computer. That's it. I don't need to click out to cheat. I can use my phone. ChatGPT is on the phone. I can come over to a secondary computer. So it's super easy to cheat on those automated ones. Okay. Now, when I'm dealing with a human, it's more conspicuous. Okay, he's typing on his phone in the middle of his coding interview. Something weird's going on. You see what I mean? Maybe you could combine them. Maybe that's interesting. I actually don't think those technologies are generally combined. So the automated code interview will detect if you click out. But usually if I'm talking to a person, they don't mind if I click. Or I may be even able to mute, so that if I'm typing, they don't hear it. So that if I'm clicking, they don't hear it. A lot of keyboards and like the trackpad on the Mac are just quiet to begin with. So that's in terms of hearing it. And then there are many interview rounds that are accommodating. And I don't know, at least this was the case around 2020. I don't know if this is the case today. But when there was a big hiring boom and interviewers and employers were being very accommodating. And also remote work was sort of new at that point. There was a common ability to turn off your camera. Basically, you could request. You could say, I don't know, I get anxious, or I don't want bias based on my appearance. So, like a bias mitigation reasoning. There were some various reasons that interviewees were allowed to turn off their camera, and that's still done today to some extent. I don't know what extent. I guess ask your recruiter if you're interested in that. The point is that if I can turn off my camera, now I don't need to worry about eye contact, and it becomes even easier to cheat. Okay, that's the vulnerability identification for the employers there. / tip for if you're the candidate, maybe you ask about that accommodation. And so if you make those accommodations, this figure is like much less accurate. The 70, what was it, 72%? Yeah. Oh, okay. Actually, that's a different number. Sorry. The 72% may or may not be true. That's like an interviewer confidence measure. I think that's pretty normal anyway. So you might get that same number with or without like the screen on thing. But this piece, I don't expect this to be the case in a normal big tech final round where video cameras are on and so forth. But maybe it would be the case if cameras are off. I think that is the last bit. Here's some of the sample size stuff. 37 interviews, 32 of which they were able to use, had to review, 5 because, so sample size 32 basically. And roughly equal between the verbatim, modified, and custom. One thing that may be room for improvement here, given that there are 12 custom samples, there can't be much room in the space of covering the various types of algorithms, right? So this wouldn't be representative of your particular custom question. You would need to do some more study there. Probably this will vary significantly by the kind of question, where kind refers to the solution algorithm, basically. One of the known effects that sticks out here is like dynamic programming, DP, is like a really oddball compared to other algorithms. So you would expect a significantly different result there. And basically, just in terms of GPT, it's going to do better where there's more training data. So common, frequently asked questions are going to perform better. Stranger, like maybe trees, tries, sort of like stranger questions, Zijkstra's algorithm or whatever, it may do worse there. Just training set effects. Okay, that was what I wanted to cover. Anything else from here? No, that is pretty much what I wanted to cover. Hey, come sign up at latterly.io. You can sign up for free and you can pay as little as $1 a month to unlock some additional cool benefits, like an advanced checklist that reminds you that, hey, LinkedIn Premium is an evidence-based tool to accelerate your job search, 2.5 or 2.7 or whatever. Let's see, what's the number? 2. Ooh, did they take the number off? Oh, 4.6. Woo! 4.6 times more effective when you use these in-mails that you get with LinkedIn Premium. Okay, so evidence-based tips on the advanced checklist, and then here's the standard checklist. And follow the page and like the video. I will be going live. So Latterly is fully open source. GitHub at the bottom, you can contribute, and I will be going live soon, either later tonight or tomorrow, to code on this website and improve it. The feature that I'll be adding next is an ability to upgrade your checklist. So if you go, if you've had an account for like more than a month, probably your checklist doesn't look like this, and probably you are unable to upgrade your checklist to the newest version. If you make a fresh account, though, you'll get the latest and greatest version. And so I'll be fixing that issue and letting everyone upgrade to the latest version. Aragon is an example of a newly added tip where this can take your sort of regular phone pictures and turn them into these nice headshots for LinkedIn optimization. And so that's an example of a recent tip that if your Latterly account is like more than a month old, you might not have this tip on there. Okay, let's do 2 minutes of questions maybe, and then we'll wrap up. So one question, I want to get into learning to code for various to better help my career in cybersecurity. Can I start? Got to work on communication there. You can start. I mean, I would recommend you target a full stack role. So the Latterly curriculum, vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then we proceed to React and Next.js. Next.js is a full stack framework. And once you are full stack, it makes sense to, I mean, first of all, you'll be dealing with databases. And a lot of the topics in cybersecurity become relevant at that time. So cybersecurity, you're going to be able to run and read a scanner like a burp suite. You're going to want to be able to understand what particular attacks are, like a SQL injection or cross-site scripting. So front end and back end, you're going to want to need to have context on front end and back end to grow that cybersecurity skill set and understand what a bunch of vulnerabilities are and how to potentially fix them or prevent them. All right, any other questions? Just one question for today. Let me check the YouTube chat. I was ignoring that one. I'm not seeing anything over there. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being here. Talk to you later.